What makes a man into a monster? Not a mythological beast. Not a fictional villain. But a real man. A breathing, walking, charming man who, behind closed doors, becomes something grotesque. This is not about gossip. This is not a list of names. This is philosophy. And today, we ask, how does a human being become someone like Jeffrey Epstein? What happens to the soul of a man who uses wealth, manipulation, and influence not to uplift, but to violate, corrupt, and destroy? Carl Jung said that every human carries a shadow. It is the part of ourselves we repress, our darkest desires, impulses, fears, and cruelty. Most people suppress this shadow. Some confront it and integrate it. But monsters, they let the shadow out to play. Epstein's life was a performance. A carefully constructed persona, sophisticated, intelligent, connected. But beneath the mask was a shadow that had been given free rein. The desire to control. To dominate. To use others as tools for pleasure and power. He wasn't born evil. No one is. But he chose to feed his shadow instead of his soul. Until you make the unconscious conscious, Jung warned, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. In ancient Greece, the philosopher Aristippus believed that pleasure is the highest good. But he also believed in moderation. He said, it is not abstinence from pleasures that is best, but mastery over them without being worsted. Epstein was the opposite. He was a man enslaved by his pleasures. Pleasure not as joy, not as beauty or love or delight. But pleasure as conquest. As exploitation. As degradation of others for the thrill of power. This is hedonism without conscience. Desire unbound by ethics. Nietzsche warned of this too. He called it the will to power. When you stop caring about truth, and start caring only about control. When Hannah Arendt covered the trial of Adolf Eichmann, she expected a monster. What she found was something more terrifying, a bureaucrat. An ordinary man who followed orders. Who never questioned the machine he served. She coined the term, the banality of evil. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't supernatural. He wasn't a genius, though he pretended to be. He was banal. His crimes were systematic. Repetitive. A business of evil. A routine. And the system allowed him. Money protected him. Connections shielded him. Silence empowered him. Evil is not always loud. Sometimes, it wears a suit and smiles politely. Lord Acton famously said, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But here's the deeper truth. Power doesn't just corrupt. It reveals. It shows us who we really are, once we no longer fear consequences. Epstein's wealth wasn't just a tool, it was a mirror. It reflected the worst in him, because nothing stopped him from acting on it. And so, he built a network. He built an island. He built a life where no one could say no. And that is where evil grows. In silence, in obedience, in complicity. What would you become if you could do anything, and no one ever stopped you? Philosopher Martin Buber believed that human morality begins with relationship. He described two modes of being, I-it and I-thou. I-thou is sacred. It sees the other person as a full, living being. A soul. I-it treats the other as a thing. Epstein saw people, especially young girls, not as thou, but as it. Objects. Means to an end. Flesh without dignity. That is the final step toward monstrosity, the death of empathy. When you no longer see others as human, you no longer see yourself as human either. And that's the paradox. To become a monster, you must first stop recognizing others as real. But in doing so, you lose your own reality, too. So, how does a human become a monster? Not all at once. Not in a moment. But in thousands of small betrayals of the self. Each time you ignore conscience. Each time you treat someone as a thing. Each time you feed the shadow instead of facing it. Jeffrey Epstein was not a mystery. He was the inevitable result of power without ethics, desire without love, and ego without soul. Let this not be just a case study, but a warning. The monster is not out there. The monster begins within. If this made you think, subscribe for more. Philosophy is not theory. It's survival.